I have a collection of novel books, novels you can call them I suppose, which are in two sorts. This stack of books is all something about the software, the content of the book is a bit odd. These ones are all the hardware, the actual book itself has been altered in some way. So here's an example of something I'd put in the middle I suppose. It's a little book. I paid £90 for this, would you believe? It's a little book of poetry, not particularly interesting poems, but never mind, I've enjoyed it. And then what's strange about it is all these pages are made of a thermochromic ink. So if we hold it over the candle which I've prepared here, we'll see that this, which starts off saying, I never really liked the colour myself, an instinctual dislike I'd say it was reserved for. That's what the first page says. When you now hold it over a candle flame and warm it up, if we put it in the oven it goes even quicker, see how quickly the red ink disappears because it's thermochromic ink, and once it's heated, disappears. As it disappears, you see there's a much smaller subtext underneath of red writing, which is almost invisible, but I can just about read these little tiny words underneath, which gives you a completely different poem. Extraordinary. So this book contains two poems. The first is overt and very obvious, and the second is very covert and only appears when you've warmed up the book. Remarkable. This was a kind of consolation for me, because the book I was really looking for was this remarkable one produced a few years ago, which was a very short edition, which was a recipe book. And the idea was, in order to enjoy the recipes and eat it, you had to first of all cook the book. You put the book in the oven, gas mark 4 for instance, for 5 minutes. Don't overcook it, otherwise it'll burn the pages. Don't undercook, etc., etc. Lovely idea. So the idea of thermochromic ink on a book is quite remarkable. Now, some other books I've come across, children's books for instance, are, well, it's just a Jacob's Ladder, isn't it? But it will flip down like this, and when you read the story and you read it in one mode, it'll give you one story, and with the other mode it'll give another story. It's a kind of dragon book, but it works, and there's quite a number of children's books which I have in my collection. This one at first disappointed me. All it is a kind of flick book done by an artist out of Holland, I think he was, showing a propeller blade turning round and round. I said, well, so what? He said, hold it up to your face. I suddenly realised what he meant. The idea is to flurry the pages and, yes, there's a nice breeze. If it's a hot day, that will act like a fan. And that's what the thing is showing, a fan there. So a sort of double take on the fan. That's a clever idea. This remarkable book is something you can read the bath, the pool, anywhere. I haven't read the book, I have to say, but the novel is made of a plastic compound in which all these pages, they can't be torn easily either, are totally immersible in water, and the ink won't run either. So you can read this, you can drown the book, it can't be drowned, it can't be destroyed by water. Remarkable idea. Then there's simple ones like Tilt, I like that. It's actually a very good little summation of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but all the pages are sort of slightly akimbo, but it's fun to read. And that one I actually have read because it's an enjoyable book. This is a most remarkable book. It's called 4-Age Printing, and it came out in 1850. It's a book all about the English Constitution, page after page of facts about the British Empire in the 1850s and things. The remarkable thing about this is what's called the 4-Age, which means you open it up like this, you have to bend the page, all of them, together like this, and the gilding suddenly reveals a picture which is previously hidden, because the top end of each page, the last fraction of a millimetre, has a little bit of the picture laid in it. When you close it up again, the gilding covers it up again. Turn it round and you see a second picture appears. Wonderful. So to make this, they had to put it in a clamp first of all, and then the artist spends about 2 weeks painting the picture, lets it dry, and then re-gilts it to make the picture almost all but disappear. 4-Age painting books. Very, very beautiful. Some artists get books which are due to be not just remained but pulped, so instead of pulping them, he has a bit of fun. Of course, it destroys the book, which is a shame, but it's just fun to see a book in a bizarre form like this. So I had to go myself at this sort of semi-destructive kind of art, and this is a book I bought, I think it was from a mail order company, which is a book safe, i.e. inside is a place to put your valuables. Well, what could you put in there? I put a book in there. What's in the book? Well, another book. What's in the book? Well, another book. And what's in the book? It's a kind of Matryoshka doll effect, you know. And the last one, tiny little one in the very centre there, like that. It's a bit of fun. The problem with those last two is they're very destructive. They kill the book, as it were. So here's a wonderful bit of artwork which doesn't kill the book. All you do is you take each page and you just fold it in a certain way. I had to go myself with this book on Sweden or something I'll finish, and I had to go starting to do this act myself, but it's very, very time consuming, and I spent about 2 or 3 hours just getting those first few pages. But this wonderful lady, Brigitte Laugier in France, has made a marvellous version of the book. And of course, if you want to read the book, you could, I suppose with tweezers, gently unfold every page and then read it again. But you feel obliged to get the tweezers and put them back again. And some of my friends have got beautiful versions of these books. It can't be closed anymore now. It's had those folds, so it's opened up and sits there looking like a bit of decoration. Remarkable bit of work now. Now, to transfer over to the other side of books, which is the books in which there's something strange about the content of the book rather than the book itself. This one, for instance, a friend of mine produced this many years ago, All That Men Know About Women. And there's lots about the blurb you can start to look at on the back and on the front. But inside, of course, as you probably can double guess, totally blank pages. That's All Men Know About Women. Lots of other titles in that genre. Nice idea. Slightly more subtle is this one here called Counting Sheep, which I picked up a few years ago. A Canadian company produced this. And it's got a bit of fun at the beginning and bar, bar, bar as a commentary. But the content of the book is just loads and loads and loads of sheep. Loads and loads and loads. You've got to count them. I tell my friends, be careful you don't lose my place. I got to there the other night. I don't think that's right. But anyway, the idea is quite a cute little one, counting sheep. A very remarkable exercise from some guys in Chicago produced this book, which is one of those Western thrillers, which there's thousands in this genre. But when you get inside it, you look at a page, and what's going on here? There's text at the top, that's the story. There's footnotes, but this isn't a philosophical treatise, it's just an ordinary humdrum Western thriller. Well, the answer is the guy who wrote this didn't write a single word of it. This is 100% plagiarization. Every single sentence here has been lifted, and he gives the context where it's been lifted from, and he takes this nonsense all the way through to the last page, where it says at the end, the end. No, he didn't write that either. No, it says from the little subscript, it comes from this novel down here. So a bit of nonsense. 100% plagiarization. What a clever idea. I think the most interesting of all these books that I've come across, which I've read many times actually, is called Exercise in Style by Raymond Queneau, where he takes a simple story of a man in a metro, and it's the first page he describes the story, which is very, very brief. I'll show you the first page. So you read about the story, and then he rewrites that story. It's only a 2-paragraph story. He rewrites the story 99 different ways. Every one of them showing something like monosyllabic English, or onomatopoeias, or palindromics, or even a bit of haiku poetry. The same story, after about the 3rd page, you know exactly what the story is, and you can just revel in the wonderful flexibility of the language in written form, that it can be expressing the same story in so many different ways. Exercises in Style is the only one I think I've read and thoroughly enjoyed. A bizarre one here from the 1930s, Torquemada, which is a book on puzzles, lots and lots of puzzle in it. But the interesting bit, to my mind, is the last 100 pages, where we have a 100-page whodunit here, but they're all mismatched. Every single page is in the wrong order. So to solve this, if you're minded to, you'd have to photocopy them all, study the text very carefully for about several days and try and get the thing in the text into the right order, then solve the whodunit. It's a tall order, I'm afraid, and I haven't tried it, but nice idea, mismatched pages. There's another one by Georges Perec called Avoid, in which the entire novel is left at the letter E, the commonest of all the letters, out. The entire book has been written with no letter E in it anywhere. And then just by way of a balance to it, he wrote another short novelette of 3 novels, of which the middle one contains only the letter E. There's only E's and nothing else in it. Bizarre idea. Now I've come across one very recently, which is pi to 10,000 places of decimal. And the guy's written this extraordinary treatise where he writes on the first page what the value of pi is, and then to give you the numbers, he writes either a poem or a bit of text or a story or a crossword, and each of them sticks to the number of letters that should be in the value of pi, all the way to the very end, where he gives the value of pi to 10,001 places of decimal. Extraordinary idea. And of course, not awake, 3.14. It starts on the title with the right mnemonic for the value of pi. There are some extraordinary books out there, and there's still a few more for me to collect. I do notice the other day there's a book on this type of art, where this one here, for instance, has had the top of the book shaved off to make it look like a no garden, which is quite remarkable. And something I'd love to get from my collection, but it's far too big, is a great avalanche of books that someone produced coming out of a window. Tens of thousands of books all fixed to a frame and pouring out. There's a lot of books out there, but I love collecting and finding and looking for bizarre novels, which we call them, strange books.